The Andaman Islands, which are an island paradise in India, are where our journey takes us. Every island here is like a hidden treasure. It's not just the forests, but also the sea. The relationship between the sea, the underwater beauty, and the lush green forests creates an amazing connection in the Andaman Islands. So, here you can experience the natural beauty, the caves, the mysterious mud volcano that has been spewing from the earth for centuries. And do you know what else? The mud skipper fish that walks along the shores. Also, there are indigenous tribes living here in the dense forests, far away from the outside world. The flight from Chennai to Port Blair is the best option for reaching the Andaman Islands. As the plane descended, we could see the coastline and the shore, and below that, the thick forest. We landed at the airport and a guy came to pick us up. We then traveled with the driver to the resort. As soon as we arrived, they welcomed us with a drink. After completing the check-in procedures, we went into our room. Today, our first destination is the North Bay Island. North Bay Island is famous for its water activities and you'll see boats taking tourists on trips over there. We had already booked our tickets in advance, so we boarded the boat straight to the North Bay. The main activity here is the scuba diving. So our first plan was to go for the scuba dive. Our trainer gave us some basic instructions and explained the signals we would need to understand while we were underwater. With waterproof goggles on, when we looked down, the sea revealed its wonders to us. It felt like an adventure. We swam through the water like we were in an aquarium, surrounded by various fishes. Among them were clownfish with their distinctive orange, red and brown colors. These fishes are also known as Andaman fish. They are quite expensive in the market. The water here wasn't as clear as I expected with some mud mixed in it. But on days with good sunlight, you could see the fishes clearly. Since it is not a very deep place, there weren't any large fishes, just the small ones. When we visited Lakshadweep, the water was much clearer and we could see a lot of colorful fish. I remember how bright and clear the water was when we saw the underwater corals in Lakshadweep last year. We had gone to Lakshadweep through a package from a travel company called the Trip Untold. Their package was really good and very comfortable. So for this Andaman trip as well, we booked through the Trip Untold. I'll share the details in the description, or I can also share the WhatsApp contact if needed. You can contact them directly for more information. If you want to try scuba diving, even if you don't know anything about it, there is no need to worry. Once you learn the basics, you can dive without any trouble, and the guide will take care of everything for you. Whether you're a beginner or not, the underwater world, here with its corals and fish, will always be amazing to see. And it's something everyone should try at least once. That is when we truly understand the beauty of scuba diving. Watching a video is one thing, but experiencing it in person is an entirely different experience. One of the fish we saw was a Titan triggerfish. Then we saw the butterfly fish, which is the state fish of Lakshadweep. These fish usually swim in pairs, gliding through the water like a couple. While swimming through the sea, we spotted many small fishes in a variety of colors. This was a first-time experience for me, and the thrill of seeing these creatures up close was unforgettable. Anyway, while I was filming the video, I got to experience it firsthand and really enjoyed the moment. It was truly an amazing experience. Watching the beauty of the ocean floor underwater would require an entire episode to show, as you can't capture the full essence in a short video. For those who aren't particularly interested in scuba diving but still want to see the ocean's coral, there is another option. You can take the boat ride that offers a view of the coral from the inside of a boat. The boat travels around with a glass bottom that allows you to see the corals and fishes around. This boat can accommodate about 10 to 15 people, and you can get a chance to see some of the fishes as well. Since the water isn't very deep in here, the view might not be as spectacular as it would be in the deeper waters. But the fish close to the boat are still enjoyable to watch, and it's a nice experience. The boat ride lasts for about half an hour, and the charge is 2,500. For scuba diving, the cost is 3,000 rupees per person, but in many places the rates can vary. We saw a variety of small fishes at the beginning of our journey, and after reaching the spot where the boat stopped, we turned around and came back at the starting point. At that spot, when we placed the camera in the water, small fishes appeared like stars in the clear water. The first time we went to scuba diving, the same fish appeared in front of us. The clarity of the water is usually visible when there is good sunlight, especially between November and May, which is the main season here. If you plan to go to scuba diving, the best time to enjoy the underwater sights is after 11 am and before 3 pm. Today, the main location we are visiting is the North Bay Island, and we also plan to visit another nearby island. The name of the island was Rose Island, but now it is known as Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Island. Rose Island has a rich history and is an island that doesn't have much in terms of historical documentation. On this island, we also spotted a herd of spotted deers walking near a group of islanders. Did you notice that? During the time when the British were in India, Rose Island was one of the main bases. It served as their administrative headquarters, and the remains of their activities can still be seen in here.
Okay. 2018 में change किया. 2018 change किया. Okay. गाइड सेलेक्ट कर देख लीजिए श्रद्धांजलि स्टोर करके लिखा है ना. Okay. हाँ. ये ब्रिटिश टाइम पे उन लोगों का राशन का स्टोर.
If we want to explore the entire island, we can rent an electric vehicle, and the driver will also act as a guide, explaining everything along the way. As the guide mentioned, the common spoken language in Andaman is Hindi. Also, there are quite a few people in Tamil Nadu who live in here. So many people are familiar with Tamil. One of the old structures here is a bakery, and there's also a printing house in here, and a powerhouse as well. The remains of these buildings can still be seen today. The water purification unit built by the British is another remarkable feature. It was used to purify the seawater, and this system was created by the British. When I think about how advanced the technology was back then, I find it quite fascinating, don't you? This was once a bar and a dancing club for the officers of that time. The roof has collapsed and only the remains of the walls stand. Though the walls are standing still, the construction is quite basic. This building has been around for more than 150 years. Nearby, you can also see the old Protestant church. Except for the roof, the walls are in good condition with no major damage. During the British era, workers from various parts of India were brought to the island, and the black-colored stones from the island itself were used to build the church and other complete buildings in here. This place, with its colonial administrative structure, holds significant historical importance. When we talk about history, this is also the place where many Indian freedom fighters were held as prisoners. The island is known for its cruel and inhumane stories, and its history is filled with tales of suffering and brutality. At the end of the road, in this electric vehicle, when we reach this beach, we can see a lighthouse. Here, we can walk towards the lighthouse after parking the vehicle. The Rose Island is close to Port Blair, but there's no bridge connecting them. We need to take a boat to get there. When we arrived, we saw a few deer. These deer, which are actually a part of a zoo which was once here, have been released into the wild. Since they have no other places to go, they become accustomed to the tourists. So now we're planning on heading back to our room. The Corbin Beach, a lovely beach, is on the way, and we can visit it as well. From here, we can catch boats to other islands. In the evening, the weather is quite pleasant. As for the time, it's around 4 p.m. right now. By 5 p.m., it will be dark in here. By 5 a.m., the roads will be full of vehicles and people. The weather is pleasant today, but since the beach is not very quiet, we couldn't go to the rock island as they had mentioned. After reaching our room, we rested for a while. By 4 a.m., our journey began. So far, we are on our way to Baratang Island, located along the forest road where the Jarawa tribes live. These tribes are isolated from the outside world and have no contact with the modern society. We started the journey at 4 a.m. However, the checkpost opens at 6 a.m. Vehicles traveling to the Baratang had queued up at the checkpost. And when it opens at 6 a.m., police escort vehicles lead the way. It's a 60-kilometer journey through a dense forest, passing through areas inhabited by the Jarawa tribes. We reached Baratang after crossing jungles. And it is important to note that while you may see the tribes at certain spots, taking photos is strictly prohibited. The Jarawa tribes people, who are like African inhabitants, appear in a unique way. Both men and women do not wear modern clothing and usually have no attire except a few accessories. Interestingly, while traveling along the roads, they can be seen wearing modern shoes, sunglasses, and sometimes other items of clothing. Tourists offer them these things during their visits. The police escort vehicles accompany the tourists to ensure safety, and the possibility of Jarawas attacking the vehicles is expected and minimized. Do you know how the Jarawa Reserve Forest looks like? It is similar to the Silent Valley's deep forests, where the sunlight hardly reaches the ground due to the tall trees. It's a thick evergreen forest, and just looking at it makes you feel vastness of the forest. The tribes worship the deers as god, so they don't hunt them, and their diet includes honey, fishes, and other natural food sources that they gather from the forest and the sea. The Jarawa people live in this way because it is how they have always lived, and they don't seek help from the government as well. We will talk more about them in detail later. Currently, we are heading by boat to the Limestone caves in Baratang. These caves are located deep inside the Andaman forests, and they are the natural limestone formations in the interior of the island. In 2004, tsunami was the deadliest in India, and the Andaman Islands were the most severely affected. The Jarawa tribes live in areas that were hit hard by the tsunami. After traveling by boat through the forest, we walked for about 15 minutes to reach the limestone caves. During the walk, we could see small farm plots. These areas are inhabited not by the Jarawa tribes, but by normal Indians. However, the most fascinating thing I encountered was a fish. This is a species known as a mud skipper, which can live both in the sea and in the wetland areas. It was the first time I ever heard of such a fish. Despite its small size, it moves with impressive speed through the water, and we could observe it very easily. When I say shore, it's not completely dry land, but a wetland area where the mud skippers move around. Skipping along the surface is in a unique way. We were able to watch this fascinating behavior very closely. What we saw here were small fishes, about a foot long. But these fishes are quite unique and not commonly seen. They can be found more commonly in places like Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. They move in a way that looks like skipping, hopping across the ground, similar to how a frog would move. During our travels around Andaman, we saw these fish in multiple places. The limestone caves we were heading to are made of calcium carbonate, which is found in various places around the world. However, limestone caves like the ones in Baratang Island are only found in India in this specific location. Calcium carbonate deposits are also found in other places like Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. Limestone is commonly used in the industrial production of cement and steel. Walking through the forest for a quiet distance, we reached a cliff where a cave begins. If it's midday, with the feeling of this forest and the dense atmosphere, it doesn't feel like we are on an island. This is a very beautiful place. Walking through the gaps in these rocks, we enter the depths of a cave that becomes completely dark, with barely any light. You can see anything here only if you have a torch. What appears in white color all around are calcium carbonates. It is said that this place was once under the sea many years ago, and the remains of what existed under the ocean are visible here on the way. When we went to Ladakh, we saw water flowing down the mountains and freezing in blocks of ice. Similarly, this limestone seems to have flowed and settled just like that. There are 2 limestone caves in here. A little further, there is another one. The second cave is whiter than the first cave. What fascinated me the most, however, was this forest. It's a place of exceptional natural beauty. Although it's a forest, there are no animals, and even birds are very few. But the greenery, the paths, that look like scenes from a movie, and everything together made me really like this place. Walking through the untouched Andaman forest for some time, we eventually reached the cave. It is quite similar to the previous one. Let's now talk about the tribals. The tribes residing in the deep forests of Andaman and Nicobar belong to one of the very few groups in the world that remain unaffected by modern languages and cultures. There may be a few individuals among them who have some connection with the outside world. However, the majority of these tribes have no relationship with the modern world at all. If they see strangers, they use bows and arrows to shoot them. These are truly primitive people who live independently without concerns about houses, possessions, clothing, vehicles, or money. The Jarawa tribe has some minimal connection with the outside world, but the other tribes remain wary of outsiders and avoid contact altogether. To see the Jarawa tribe members directly is very rare, and even then, you cannot take any photographs of them. Therefore, the only way to truly experience this is by encountering them in person. On the way back, we should return in the same boat we came in. So, we need to remember the name of the boat we boarded. There are many beautiful pathways here for walking, and if we walk straight along this path, we'll reach the spot where we boarded the boat and where the boat is parked. Then we'll proceed through a route known for having crocodiles. But since people are constantly walking around here, it is rare to encounter crocodiles. There is no need to book this boat separately for the trip. It's already included in the package. The speedboat ride is truly a great experience. So we're returning from the caves by midday. Our next destination was the mud volcano. A mud volcano is a natural process where mud erupts from beneath the earth, similar to the way magma erupts from a volcano. After parking the car, it's just a 5-minute walk to reach the mud volcano. When you arrive, don't expect it to be a grand spectacle. The mud oozes out through small pits from the ground. However, for over 1,000 years, mud has been continuously seeping out like this every single day of the year. Our guide mentioned that there are larger mud volcanoes in the deeper parts of the forests, where the mud erupts with greater force. However, we were not given permission to go there. After leaving there, by evening, our last destination was the Parrot Island, a place where many parrots gather. However, to reach there, we had to go through a dense forest. 2 members from Tamil Nadu were also with us on this journey. On the way, we saw the houses of Jarawa tribes. These are huts made from grass and other materials collected from the forest. Interestingly, these houses are built near the banks of a crocodile-inhabited river. The Jarawas cut large trees from the forest and use the wood to make planks and even boats. These handmade boats are used for fishing and traveling. It is said that nowadays the government is providing boats to many of them. We reached near the Parrot Island around 5 p.m. It was the time when the parrots usually begin to arrive. We spent some time talking with the boat driver, who has been living here for many years from his ancestors. He shared insights about the eating habits of the Jarawa people.
இப்போ சோறு அப்படி எல்லாம் கிடைக்குது. இப்போ நண்டு குடிப்பாங்க, அப்புறம் இந்த ஃபிஷிங் பண்ணுவாங்க, அப்புறம் இந்த பன்னி பார்த்தீங்களா, அதை பிடிச்சி உரிச்சு மேலே தொங்க போட்டுருவாங்க. எல்லாம் எடுத்து மேலே தொங்க போட்டுட்டு கீழே நெருப்பு போட்டுருவாங்க. அப்போ இது என்னாகும், அந்த புகையில் அது வெந்துக்கிட்டேவும் இருக்கும், அது விட்டு எண்ணெய் வெந்துக்கிட்டே இருக்கும், அந்த அடுப்பும் அணையாது. அப்போ என்ன செய்வாங்க, அந்த நம்ம என்ன சொல்லுவோம், மக்கி ரசம் சொல்லுவோம் நம்ம இந்தியில், தேன் எடுத்துட்டு பாரு, அது நிறைய எடுப்பாங்க. சரி, அந்த பீஸ் வெட்டி அதை முக்கி சாப்பிடுவாங்க.
எத்தனை ஆதிவாசி இருக்கு?
ரொம்ப 1000க்கு மேலே இருந்துச்சு மேடம். இப்போ வந்து எல்லாரும் இறந்து போயிட்டாங்க, பாதிக்கு மேலே வரை. அப்போ இப்போ ரொம்ப கம்மியாயிட்டாங்க. நிறைய ஆளுங்க இருந்தது, அவங்க வந்து நல்ல அந்த அவன் மாதிரி இருப்பாங்க, நல்லா ஹெல்தியாக. அவங்கள்ட்ட நீங்கள் சண்டை போடவே முடியாது. அங்கே நாங்கள் கடை வச்சுருந்தோம் எங்கள் அம்மா. அப்போ சின்ன பசங்க கூட நல்லா தெம்பாக இருப்பாங்க, நல்லா தின்னு கோல் மட்டும். அப்போ அவங்க உப்பு சாப்பிட மாட்டாங்க, இப்போ நம்ம கொடுக்குற சாமான் சாப்பிட மாட்டாங்க, அவங்க சிக்கார் பண்ணி சாப்பிட்றது.
As it started getting dark, the birds began to arrive. However, since we hadn't anticipated such amazing wildlife and birds, we hadn't brought lenses suitable for capturing them. With the lenses we had, we managed to capture a few shots of the birds flying. And after spending some time over there, we decided to head back. So tomorrow we plan to explore more beautiful spots and beaches before wrapping up our trip and heading home. So see you soon in the next video.